Welcome back to part 2 of the Legendary Dusting series for Hearthstone 2019, The Rise of Shadows expansion by TrashcanTV. Today we're going to be looking at all the neutral legendary minions currently in the standard game of Hearthstone. Again, the disclaimer, you should first of all go watch the first video of this series where we looked at all the class legendary minions that are currently in the standard. If you haven't done that yet, then go to do that first. Again, a disclaimer, we are advertising a sort of aggressive dusting strategy. That meaning we explained in the beginning of the last video, meaning that we take risks at stuff. If there's a card that you're not playing, that you are not currently planning to play, and that is probably kind of bad, and there's a good chance you won't play it, we advertise dusting it. People, not everyone agrees with that. Some people are collectors, they like to keep every card and never dust anything. For an efficient Hearthstone economy, dusting is necessary, and that's why we are here to give you some good advice. Again, we got the 5 categories, and we'll hop right into sorting the neutral cards. Starting off with Deathwing, one of the most iconic characters in all of fantasy ever. Deathwing used for the longest part be one of the strongest control tools in Hearthstone. I'm going to put him at make up your mind, because some people might want to hang on to Deathwing just because they remember how powerful he was, and they think that he might once again be, or they just nostalgic about the character of Deathwing. Me personally, if I got Deathwing today, I'd probably dust him. To be honest, to some people that might be straight up treason. To me, since I started playing Hearthstone, I haven't seen Deathwing being played in Constructed, and I don't have respect for the name that much to not put the dust on it. So for me, it's a dust. People, make up your mind. Right now, I'm not seeing much. Hakar the Soul Flayer is probably dust. There's combo ideas when he came out. There's just better combos. Even now that combo isn't that strong, there's better combo cards. Cards that allow for better combos. You can see 2 of those on the screen right now, and we'll get to 2 more of them probably. First of one is Mecha'thun. Now Mecha'thun is just better than Hakar because it works more directly. With Hakar, you have the problem of you shuffle it into your deck as well, so you then have to also run something to get rid of it. You gotta rely on your opponent drawing stuff and taking longer times. Mecha'thun is more direct, and with Mecha'thun, I would say right now probably keep it, because I see it as a decent chance that Mecha'thun throughout the entirety of this year until the road hits out will be playable, and to a degree it is. You can play it in certain control warrior decks or other control decks. Right now it's an optional card in some cases, and I think it might become a pretty good card in tier 2, tier 3 deck before it's all said and done. Next we have Alexstrasza, and this is a clear keep. Alexstrasza is one of the best dragon aspects in the game. Has continuously seen play in control decks, namely mostly Priest over the last couple of expansions, but always been very, very good, always been solid, and it's to be expected that Alexstrasza will always find a place in a lot of decks. Archivist Elysiana, after the nerf, still equally valid. You want to keep this card for sure, with the effect being so specific and being so special, doing a special thing that a lot of decks are going to be looking for playing. And enabling the idea of a fatigue effect, fatigue game plan. Elysiana is a valuable card that you want to definitely keep. Baku is listed here. I don't know why. He's in the Hall of Fame. If you still happen to have him, you should have dusted him when the Hall of Fame happened, because well, you should have definitely had him then, because you got full refund. But still, if you don't play Wild, and most people who I know don't play Wild to smork Odd Paladin, if you do that, then sure, go ahead and do that, but otherwise you just dust him. We're not going to include him here because he doesn't belong here. I don't know why he's there, but Gen also will be in this list. I can't help it. Malygos is next, and you should keep Malygos because, kind of like Alexstrasza, he's sort of always gonna be valid, and there's been combos with Malygos. Malygos really is a combo piece. Spell damage, especially if it's available to neutral, so to all classes, will always be good. We've seen it in Priest, we've seen it in Rogue and in Druid. All classes can use that at some point, and most classes will be able to utilize Malygos. You want to keep him around. Nozdormu is clear dust. He's probably the worst of the dragon aspects. His effect just doesn't do much. You could argue that it could counter some APM decks, but also no. So Nosdormu is dust, unfortunately, doesn't do much. Onyxia, also one of the dragons that you can get from the welcome bundle, by the way. I'm gonna say probably dust. The effect just doesn't warrant a 9 mana legend to be played. Not strong enough in the end game. I don't really see it. I think there's cards who just do better stuff. There's a couple of the dragon aspects we've already talked about and we'll talk about just are better than Onyxia, so really not worth it being random constructed. Undasta is probably a keep because of the strong effect that it can for sure have. It already saw prominent play in Odd Warrior and Odd Quest Warrior, and some big druids, some strong big druids last rotation, just before the rotation happened, and I believe it's gonna get back there as well. Death Rattle Hunter also played it. It's a very valuable card, and you wanna probably keep it around. Ysera is definitely a keep, a value machine. Kind of lived in the shadows of the Lich King for a bit during the Frozen Throne expansion, but Ysera is a very good card, most definitely a keep. The Undertaker is kind of dubious. We don't really know how good this card will ever be. People thought this might be a 6-star card. This might be the greatest, most broken card ever printed. Turns out it's probably not. Is it terrible? Some people might say so. I say make up your mind, because I really don't know. There might be a deck that the Undertaker will complete and take to new heights, but you have cards like Immortal Prelate already in the game, and so far the Undertaker really has never taken off in a deck like that. So if it's gonna end up being a good control / value / combo tool, it would have to happen somewhat soon, because it's also rotating out next year. Next we have Gruul. Gruul is dust. In Arena, Gruul is pretty good. Of random stuff, Gruul is pretty good. Constructed, no, you're not playing Gruul. Not good enough. Just doesn't do enough these days. In a Hearthstone meta, he's dust. Geppetto Joybus from the Rise of Shadows. Make up your mind on this one. I would, at this point, tend to probably keeping him, just because a lot of decks don't need him, but a lot of decks can have him. And Geppetto does some things for you. You can run him in control decks like Control Warrior. There's builds with Control Warrior that now run it. If you hit either your Brewmaster, Banker, or your Elysiana, that means you can already bounce your Elysiana twice. Or play your Elysiana twice, at least. And in Battlecry heavy decks, Geppetto can be doing a lot of stuff for you. So I wanna say make up your mind. I would probably keep him, but then again, it's a weird effect that probably will never be absolutely necessary. Azalina Soul Thief, I'm gonna say probably keep at this point, because we've seen her being played in a lot of different decks, and in some ideas she always is relevant. She's been relevant in some Druids and some Warriors. It's gonna rotate out with the Witchwood, but until then I'd just say keep her just to be sure. If you're in a really bad pinch for dust and you never plan to play anything but aggro, you could probably, that's probably one of the cards you may get rid of, but I say keep her around, you never know. Baron Geddon is a keep for sure, actually, for me, because we've seen it with Frosted Jaina when he had its highest days, but Baron Geddon, first of all, he's classic, and he can be a very good control tool. Whenever a meta breaks out where small stuff goes down, like for example we have Token Druid now, we have the Murloc Shaman, Baron Geddon, I've seen him being tagged into a lot of control warriors already. Very good. And if you play Hearthstone for long enough time, you will come to use this card at some point or another. Chef Nomi, I'm going to say probably keep. A lot of decks have had ideas using that card. It's not been in the game for too long. And already you've seen rogues, you've seen priests playing around with this. If you can bounce him enough, because you have to bounce him a couple of times to be consistent and actually finish with that combo, because most of the times people will have 1 or 2 answers, but 3 answers, 4 answers is getting tough. So Chef Nomi, I want to say keep, because he's going to be in the center for a long time in the future, and probably is going to be valid. Countess Ashmore, at this point I'm going to say just dust. People thought it was going to be great. It never really has been. It never really has been necessary. There never was a deck where Ashmore made sense to play, and even if there was a deck that would feature all those 3 cards, Apparently a 7 mana 6/6 legend spot to tour those out never was good enough to make it, and there's no reason to believe that it will in the future. Karen Bloodhoof is a keep because it's a classic card, and if you just do the math on it, you're paying 6 mana for essentially 8 and 10 in stats, which is very, very good. Now, it's not the absolute explosive bombshell value machine of value machines, the absolute game finishing combo, but in here and there, Karen's gonna sneak in. Obviously one of the best arena cards, obviously a very, very good card off of discoveries, and to just randomly combine play. But when you get death rattle heavy ideas, you get control ideas that are looking for value, Karen's gonna be good once again. Gen is not the standard, same idea as for Baku. I don't know why he's listed. Hogger is utter garbage. You want to dust Hogger. He might be fun in arena sometimes, but he is not good. Ilan Stormrage unfortunately hits the same fate. Very iconic character, but he's garbage. You want to dust him. Mojo Master Sihi, I'm gonna say probably keep around. Can be a good combo disruptor. Has been played in decks like Evenlock before the rotation. Now, since combo isn't that prevalent anymore, Zihi isn't played that much, but it's a good insurance to have. And actually, I've seen Mojo Master Zihi, believe it or not, being ran in Control Warrior, because you play your Elysiana, and then you play Mojo Master Z the turn after, and if your opponent did Elysiana, then well, you win. So Zihi is versatile. It's a good effect. I don't like the card personally because I don't like the effect, but I recognize it's a strong card. The Beast is terrible, absolutely bad. For a legend, this is god awful dust. Black Knight is a very valid tech card, always sees play. Maybe at some point it goes down for a couple of months, but it's gonna come back. Whenever there's a big taunt minion, kind of taking the meta by storm, the Black Knight's there to contain it, so you want to keep him around. Barista Lynchen, I say probably keep. Not a lot of possibilities have been explored, and I believe there will be a lot of them, because people like historically speaking, people like Battlecry value, and Barista Lynchen is a good and versatile card for that. Captive Greenskin, I'm going to recommend to probably keep around as well. Mostly been used as a rogue card because of the versatility of weapons and the valuable weapons for tempo pushing or for specific effects, like with the Kingsbane. All other classes can have access to him, and whenever he shows up, he's usually pretty good. In aggressive pirate strategies, which do synergize with weapons a lot, Greenskin is valid. He's a classic card, so he's going to be around for a while. Gotta probably keep him around. Dollmaster Dora at this point is absolute dust. He's been dust for a while. There were ideas with him, like an Echo Lock, like a Mecha'thun Warlock in Rise of Shadows. Nothing really happened. He's not good enough. Harrison Jones is a definite keep, one of the best weapons techs there is. You see most control decks, if they are more greedy, like the Control Warriors right now, they'll run Harrison Jones over an Ooze. If they are more looking to get the small value out, they'll play an Ooze for paying less mana because they want to do other stuff. But Harrison Jones, historically good card, is going to be useful to you. I promise you. If you play a couple of years, even a couple expansions, you will use him. So keep him around. Same goes for Leroy Jenkins. There is no doubt in my mind Leroy Jenkins is an absolute keep. Any aggro deck can run Leroy, and most do. Subject 9, I'll say make up your mind. Do you want to play Secrets? Do you play Secrets? Are you planning to? If so, keep it around. It's good in Secret decks like Hunter. If not, then you might get rid of it. It's rotating with the Boomsday Project, and if you've never played Secrets, you don't want to play Secrets, you don't have the shell to play Secrets, it's going to be sitting around a lot because it doesn't do much else. Ziliax is an absolute keep, and actually Ziliax is also an absolute craft. If you don't have him, it's one of the first cards you should craft because it's one of the most versatile ones. Kind of along with the Leroy Jenkins before there. He who does Ziliax is a fool these days in Hearthstone, one of the best cards in the game. Artemis Vargoth, I believe most people already have gotten for free with the release of Rise of Shadows. And I'm going to say keep this card around. Probably keep it around. It's been putting in a lot of good work in the Token Druid, and it's going to continue to do so. I think a lot of decks will find ways to get this guy playing. Grifta at this point is dust. It's a Yeti. People have speculated about how it could be good, but again, there's a random factor to it. It's a chill with Yeti. Not good enough to make any constructed deck. Harbinger Celestia is pretty bad. It's dust. I don't know what people even thought when this was printed. It's overstated, but as soon as your opponent plays a minion, it usually becomes terrible because they have control over it. If this was like a secret interaction, like it just appears as another minion of very good stat and it's a secret interaction, then it'd still be a downside, but people might not care to play around it. But in this case, it's terrible, absolute dust. And Whizbang the Wonderful completely depends on you. So make up your mind about that. Do you play Whizbang? Or if you construct your own decks, then you can dust Whizbang. Some people have nothing but Whizbang and play nothing but Whizbang. We've played Whizbang before. If you do, and you want to just have some switching up, then all you need is Whizbang. If you don't, then you can safely dust him. And the last few cards, we have King Mukla first of all. I'm gonna say it's probably dust at this point. People like King Mukla. It's very overstated. It's pretty good, but you give your opponent the 2 bananas. I haven't seen him being played. That's my main thing here. I have not seen King Mukla be played. There have always been better options, and I believe there will continue to be better options. When do you ever want to give your opponent 2 cheap buffing spells that basically neutralize all of your advantage? I don't think so. Snip Snap, obviously the very new card that hasn't even been released into the game yet, so we can't make a verdict on this. What we definitely are going to say is you keep this card for at least a couple of weeks, bury it a couple of months, and then you make up your mind about it. Then you see how it develops, because we can't predict it. It might be a card that isn't really seeing play. It's good and all, but it's not really seeing play. In which case, it's also going to rotate out in less than a year already. If it's dustable, we don't even know that at this point. Then you can dust it. But I think personally, my prediction would be that this is going to be good enough to probably keep around, and it will find play because of its versatility with the magnetizing ability and the echo. And mechs are pretty valid right now in the meta, so it's probably going to be good. Tankmaster Overspark, probably dust. Very fringe tech in Control Warrior last expansion. But the randomness right now, you can't aim at anything. Usually not going to be valuable. I don't think any deck has a reason to include him, or will in the future. Bloodmage Thalnos is an absolute keep. He's a stable card. One of the most versatile early drops. He'll always see play. I don't think I've ever seen a meta in Hearthstone where Thalnos wasn't in at least a couple of decks. He's the card that's always there. So he's also a potential craft at some point if you're starting up, and he's definitely a keep. Lorewalker, I'm gonna just do the next 3 in a row. Lorewalker, Chill, Millhouse, Mana Storm, and Nat Pakel all need to immediately go to the dump. They're terrible cards, not good for anything. You can dust all those safely and rest assured that you did not make a mistake. And then we got Zale, the Shadow Cloak, which basically what I said about Whizbang right now. If you want to play with some of his evil decks, keep him. If not, and you can dust him, then go ahead and do that. It's a make up your mind situation there. So that's the neutral legendaries that are currently in standard for Hearthstone, the Rise of Shadows expansion. Let us know what you think about our assessments. Again, people might disagree. There's people out there who are collectors who never dust. I've heard people giving me the argument of, if you always dust your Millhouse, you're gonna pull him again, and you're gonna, instead of a good legend. That is true if you have all the legends except for Millhouse and your Zilliax. That's not even the same pack. But say Millhouse and Bloodmage Thalnos, and you want that Thalnos, and you pull a Millhouse, then you keep the Millhouse until you pull your Bloodmage Thalnos, obviously. But for beginners or anyone who hasn't pumped hundreds and hundreds of dollars into Hearthstone and whose collection isn't close to being complete, you go and you dust you a Millhouse if you have it. You have to think pragmatically. You'll never play it. The only thing that it does is it holds a slot open for another legend to be ever so slightly more likely, which is barely relevant considering the amount of legends you do pull and considering the amount of legends that you probably do not yet have. So once you get to the point of considering legitimately keeping cards like Millhouse, Cho, Nat Pagal, just because your chances of getting a legend that you still want are that much higher, Then you don't really have to worry about much anymore because you basically have every card. So for 99% of the people, you get rid of these cards. Don't be fooled into thinking that you have to keep that stuff around. It's not gonna make sense. In the somewhat intermediate run, the next 5 years of Hearthstone, this is not gonna come back to you at all. And at that point, you can afford most stuff anyway. So again, if you disagree with me, that's fine. I'll be glad to discuss this in the comments as long as we can stay civil about it. If you have differing opinions, let me know. Leave a like on the video though if this was helpful to you, and if you are a beginner or anywhere new to Hearthstone, you maybe found us over this. Again, go watch the beginner's guide. First of all, generally as a beginner, very, very good. Probably one of the best videos we've ever made so far. I believe that to be very helpful at least, and we've gotten great feedback on it. And then you can also go join our Discord if you want to talk to us and our community directly. The link to that is in the description. It's obviously free for anyone. You have to qualify for anything to join. You can do it whenever you want. And it's a really fun time there. We can all help each other out, get better Hearthstone together. So, thanks for watching again. Drop a like and subscribe to TrashcanTV to not miss more of the guides. We're going to be having the epic cards soon, and we'll probably also sort them between class and neutral cards, because there's also going to be a lot of them. For the common and the rares, I've said it in the end of last video, we generally don't recommend dusting most of them just because it's not really worth it for the most part. Stick to the general rules outlined in the beginner's guide as in regards to dusting, when we're talking about how to handle golden cards, how to handle extra copies, and the need of dust principle. So go have a look at that, and always ask us if you have any more questions. We'll be happy to answer you. Thank you for watching, and we're gonna be out of here. JJ.
That's it.
That's it.